America's ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, is calling for fundamental changes to UNRWA before the U.S. will agree to resume funding of the UN agency that provides aid to Palestinians in Gaza. UNRWA fired several of its employees after Israel alleged they were part of the October 7th attack by Hamas. The U.S. and at least 8 other countries have pulled their funding while the UN investigates. But UNRWA says it could run out of money for crucial aid work in a matter of weeks. Juliette Touma is director of communications at UNRWA. And she told Deepa Fernandez that most of the accused employees have already been fired.
We have terminated the contracts of 9 out of the 12 staff members who have been accused of these very serious allegations on the attacks on the State of Israel, the abhorrent attacks on the State of Israel. The Commissioner General has terminated the contracts of these staff members. He also asked for an investigation that is now being conducted by the highest investigative body of the United Nations. And should these allegations be substantiated, then this is considered a betrayal of the UN values. Not just that, but also a betrayal to the people that we serve in Gaza, in the region, and around the world.
And I want to ask you about the conditions on the ground right now in Gaza. We've been hearing how dire the food, the water shortages, the medicine shortages are. How much aid is actually getting in?
Look, Deepa, I was there just recently in Gaza, and this is my second trip to the area since the war began. And it was very clear how desperate the humanitarian situation was. More and more people are being forced to flee and are being pushed to one tiny piece of land, which is just over a quarter of the size of Gaza, that's in Rafah. And the whole place is just full of these little structures that are covered with plastic sheeting, turned homes for more than 1.4 million people now, a desperate situation.
And of these 1.4 million people, how many would you say your aid, UNRWA aid, is supporting right now?
Well, we are UNRWA, the largest humanitarian organization working in Gaza at the moment. At least 2 million people depend on UNRWA for their sheer survival. Look, more than 1 million people at the moment have taken and sought shelter in UNRWA facilities, primarily our schools that we opened for people who fled the war. We bring food to people. We bring the trucks that come across the border. It's a huge, huge operation.
So, Juliette, last year the US gave you $340 million. Do you know how much of that is being suspended currently? And what kind of an impact is that having right now for your funding of Palestinians in Gaza?
Look, as a result of the suspension, we have 16 donors who have stopped the funding to the agency. That amounts to more than half of our operational budget, $440 million. What this means is that we're not going to be able to continue our services and operations, including in Gaza, beyond the end of February.
The US ambassador is calling for fundamental changes to UNRWA. Are you heeding those calls, and what kind of changes would you make?
Look, I think the need right now is to focus on the humanitarian response in Gaza. That is the top concern for us. Also because famine is around the corner. We do know that there are pockets of starvation and pockets of hunger, especially in the north of Gaza. We're not able to bring in enough supplies. We should. There should be more efforts exerted on the Israeli authorities to allow us to do our work, UNRWA and other UN agencies. And when the war is over, then it might be a different discussion.
And Juliette, I want to ask you, because since the start of Israel's war in Gaza, 152 UNRWA employees have been killed and UNRWA facilities have been attacked. I think it's 263 times. Do you believe Israel is behind those attacks? And how do you hold them responsible for the deaths of your employees?
Our facilities have not been protected. These are UN facilities. By law, they should be protected. Now, what exactly happened? We are not at UNRWA in a position to determine. What we do know is we lost so many colleagues, and that many of our facilities, including those where people were taking shelter under the UN flag, seeking protection, those facilities have been hit.
Juliette Touma is Director of Communications at the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees. Thank you, Juliette.